This is Dante Williams, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So after watching a very impressive, dominant performance when it comes to Nicholas the Axeman Walters knocking out Nonito Donaire in 6 rounds, following this, of course, the fighters, they do their traditional post-fight interviews with Max Kellerman. Now, what I thought was really interesting was how Max Kellerman, when he was interviewing Nonito Donaire, he was trying to desperately coach Nonito Donaire into making excuses for why he lost. Did this have more to do with you being older and now you're fighting at a heavier weight, Donaire? And Donaire, he simply responded by saying, no, I was at my best. I made sure that I isolated myself from everyone. You know, I was training harder than I had ever trained. This dude just beat the shit out of me, is what Nonito Donaire said. The guy is just a beast, basically. I'm paraphrasing the beast part. But that's pretty much what he said. This is a sad time for Team HBO. And when I say HBO, I do mean Jim Lampley and Max Kellerman. Because you guys remember how happy and stoked Jim Lampley and Max Kellerman was. Remember when Nonito Donaire knocked out Fernando Montiel? Oh my goodness. They were jumping up and down. Jim Lampley, he damn near lost his voice, yelling out, that's it. He's pound for pound, top 3. Nonito is now pound for pound, top 3. Excellent performance. I mean, he praised this man like Muhammad Ali had just been reborn, right? He did all of this, jumping up and down. I remember when Manny Pacquiao, when he had his coming out party, when he knocked out the South African champion, Lababwa, or however you pronounce it. But anyway, he knocked him out. And you got to understand, this is before I knew that Jim Lampley was extremely biased. So, you know, I'm pretty much taking Jim for his word when, you know, I'm watching some fights. Keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao's fight, they didn't broadcast it. It wasn't aired, so they just showed highlights. But before they showed the highlights, Jim Lampley was so stoked about Manny Pacquiao, this new fighter, that he was talking about Manny Pacquiao, you know, while he was calling the previous fights. He was like, oh yeah, and there's this new guy. Oh my God, he's explosive. He's this and he's that. And you know me, I'm listening. I'm like, oh man, I want to see who this guy is, right? Now he's got me hyped up to see him. And when I seen the highlights, I said, Manny Pacquiao, he is explosive, exciting, this and that, right? But the problem is, where was all of this excitement and praising after Nicholas Walters knocked out Nonito Donaire? Quite frankly, it looked like Jim Lampley and Max Kellerman, they were at a funeral. That's what it looked like. That was their demeanor. When Donaire got knocked out, there was no jumping up and down. There was no celebration. And even the crowd, after you hear the oohs and the ahs from the big punch that knocked out, Nonito Donaire, that entire arena went as quiet as a damn library, right? So this is a sad day for Team HBO. This is a sad day for the biased-ass fans in the sport of boxing. Something else I want to touch on is excuses. The excuses that some people are already trying to make for Nonito Donaire. Saying, oh, you know, Donaire, he only lost because he was fighting against a big guy. He was fighting against a guy that was big and was too strong and so on and so forth. So apparently, Nonito Donaire, he lost because this guy was too strong for him. He was stronger than him. He was naturally bigger than Donaire. On top of that, he had some skill. Isn't Nonito Donaire supposed to be able to deal with adversity? Aren't you supposed to be able to negate a person's power advantage? Like that guy named Floyd Mayweather, right? Doesn't Floyd Mayweather make a career out of fighting against bigger and stronger opponents? How come Donaire couldn't do that? How come Donaire couldn't do that? Right? Understand something. If your excuse of why this guy lost was because this guy was too strong, he was too big, or he had too much technique, whose problem is that? That sounds like Donaire's problem to me. Donaire knew what he was getting himself into. That's the reason why you train. That's the reason why you prepare. That's why you get sparring partners. So you could prepare for a guy who may be stronger than you, who may be quicker than you, taller than you, younger than you, whatever the case may be, right? That is the whole reason why you prepare. You can't give someone an excuse like that and try to say, oh, you know, Donaire is still one of the greatest. He only lost because this guy was too strong, was too big. Wasn't Nonito Donaire way bigger and stronger than Guillermo Rigo? Go back and watch that fight and look at how big Donaire looks compared to Guillermo Rigo. Donaire was at least 20 pounds bigger than Rigo the night of the fight. Matter of fact, Donaire, he had a size and power advantage over every opponent he faced up until he fought Nicholas Walters. And just keep in mind, guys, I'm not talking or discrediting Donaire for anything. I'm talking specifically to the fans that make excuses that Donaire himself is not even making. You guys are the only ones I'm responding to. Because Donaire, he didn't make any excuses. You guys are making excuses that your fighter is not even making, which tells you a whole lot. So going back to Rigo being way smaller than Donaire the night of the fight. So if we go off of that theory, then that basically means that Rigo wasn't supposed to win that fight. Rigo wasn't supposed to win that fight because Donaire was way too damn big. He was way too strong. Right? What you guys fail to understand is skills will negate or nullify any advantage that a person may naturally have over you. So for those of you guys making excuses for Donaire, saying he lost because of his age, Walters was just too strong for him, and so on and so forth, I want to ask you this question. How many times have we ever seen Donaire in the ring with an undefeated guy just as strong as he is, has the same skill set that he does? Maybe a different style, but the skill level is pretty similar to Donaire. And Donaire just went in there and just completely dominated the guy. How many fights have we seen Donaire in like that? Not too many, right? In fact, the majority of fighters that Donaire fought, they were nowhere near on his level. They were smaller than him, and they were winning half of the rounds in the fight. Go back and watch the Mathabula fight. Harold Letterman, he had Mathabula winning the entire fight all the way up until round 10. Wilfredo Vasquez, who had just got knocked out by Jorge Arce, fights Nonito Donaire to a split decision. And if it wasn't for the knockdown, Donaire wouldn't have even won that fight. Guys, these opponents are not Nicholas Walter type opponents. Okay? These are opponents that Donaire was supposed to go in there and destroy. The point I'm making is Donaire never had a reputation of beating very good fighters and dominating them. He struggled against C-level opponents. So to say, oh, he would have beat Walters, he's never beat a Walters type fighter in any division. And Donaire fans, once again, this is not to hurt your feelings. This is just to tell your ass the whole damn truth. I don't do these videos to try to get people to like what I say. I do these videos to speak the truth. You could take it however the hell you want to take it. You could cry. You could love it. You could hate it. It really doesn't matter to me. I'm here to speak the truth. Just like I spoke the truth about Donaire years before he fought against Guillermo Rigo. These Donaire fans, man, they was losing their damn mind, going crazy. They was so goddamn fired up and pissed off at me because I was breaking it down. I was breaking it down. I was telling you guys that Donaire, if he ever fights Guillermo Rigo, he will not win. And I completely broke it down and told you why. All I got was, you hate Filipinos, and you hating on Donaire, and all of this stuff. Next thing you know, the fight comes to fruition, and it plays out pretty much the exact way I thought it would play out. I told you guys when it comes to Rigo, people could hate Rigo all they want. I said this in the previous video. I said, but I'm going to tell you right now, while fighters like Donaire will keep dropping off, losing, Guillermo Rigo will still be around and he will continue to win. No matter how much you hate him. No matter how hard you try to program these fans into believing that you're not supposed to like Rigo, but you're supposed to love Donaire. No matter how hard you try to do stuff like that, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, it's about who's winning and who's losing. HBO, they may be able to promote you more. They may be able to completely neglect advertising Guillermo Rigo. But one thing they will never be able to do is they will never be able to force fighters to be better fighters. You can't turn them into better fighters. You can tell people to like and love them, but you can't just snap a finger and make them a better fighter. It doesn't work that way. And at the end of the day, being a better fighter is the most important thing when it comes to the sport of boxing. As we see right now with Nonito Donaire losing this fight. If this was Survivor, if this was American Idol, they would vote, or they would be able to vote for Donaire, and they could easily make him pound for pound the best fighter in the division. But this ain't American Idol. Your skills have to do the talking for you in this sport. Okay? Abner Mares, he avoided the Rigo fight. He got knocked out. Donaire, he avoided the Rigo fight, but then he fought Rigo. He lost to him. Even after defeat, the world of boxing, because it's such a biased sport, they were still trying to praise Donaire as if he was really the champion and Guillermo Rigo didn't beat him. Now look what's going on. Now Donaire's just been knocked out, and once again, Rigo is still considered top 2, top 3, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world. Everything I told you was the whole truth. Everything I told you. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's the truth. When it comes to the sport of boxing, the truth is often going to be something that these decafs are not going to want to hear. Because nobody wants to hear the truth if it doesn't favor what they believe. Right? That's all I got. I'm on to the next one.